Hey everyone, I'm back. Yay, it's Saturday. I do work almost every Saturday, but that's okay because at least Saturday I get kid free. So we can go ahead and celebrate that. I'm Becky, of course. Um, I am casting to both Silhouette Life Inspiration Box and Craft Chameleon. This is a follow-up video to the video we just did on the Craft Along TV. If you missed that, they're right up here, okay? We made these, there we go, on the live TV segment. And we talked about using the felt with rolled flowers. But the great news is today I'm here to tell you about flowers that you don't have to cut yourself. Well, you still have to cut yourself, but not in the way that we were talking about. So to get rolled flowers, you are working with a template, something like this, right? Usually you would cut it out on your silhouette, and then with the freezer paper, we would then cut this by hand. But I heard you guys and I listened that not everybody loves rolled flowers, and that is a-okay because I'm, like I said the other day, I'm right there with you. Rolled flowers are not my favorite. So I have two types of felt flowers that we're going to make today, and you don't have to cut anything on your Silhouette or Cricut. As much as we love, love, love our machines, sometimes it can be a hassle. And these are just so easy. You're so going to thank me for this later on. So what I am going to do, trying to be more prepared this time, is I want to find the live here on my, oh, is that it? There we go. Sometimes it can be a hassle. And these I told you I'm Apple illiterate. You're so going to thank me for this later on. So, all right, how do I turn this down? Can I turn it down? Oh, I know there's buttons. Oh, found them. All right, let me turn the volume down. Sorry about that. I just want to be able to see your questions as we're doing it. So forgive me that little blip there. And I'm actually going to turn this way. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm back. We're back on topic. So we were talking about cutting the felt flowers this way, which is how we achieved this look, right? But today I'm going to show you flowers. This was another box project, but these are the flowers we're going to talk about today. Both these little mum looking flowers here, and also these, I guess these are mums. These are, what did we call those? Pom-poms. Pom-pom flowers and mums. And neither one of these did I have to cut anything on my cutting machine. And they're so easy. You do also need the hot glue gun, a pair of scissors, and the felt. Okay? All right. Let me put this back up. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do will be the, what I call them, mums. Okay, regular piece of felt. Now this is 9 by 12, okay? And I'm going to, if you can see it, I'm going to fold it over. Now, in theory, this is approximately folded over one inch, like this, okay? It does not have to be exact, and you're just going to be amazed at how easy this is. Okay, so fold it over. I don't have to iron it, nothing like that. I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut right where I folded. Okay, slide my fingers down a little bit, cut a little bit more, slide down a little bit. I mean, that is how imprecise you can be, and I promise nobody will ever know but you. Okay, so I cut this off, right? And literally that's all I have is a strip of felt. I'm going to keep it folded, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to cut into strips, probably about halfway. Can you see that on here? That's how far I've cut into the felt. And I'm going to do that all the way down this entire thing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Does it matter how wide I cut these apart? And it does and it doesn't. And the smaller or the thinner you cut these strips, the fluffier your flower will be. And if you cut them thicker like this, then they'll be a little bit more controlled. And I can show you both ways because these are so easy. We have plenty of time to do them. Okay, so cut, cut, cut. All right, I'm watching here. I'm watching for your questions. So if you have questions, let me know. The only thing I am trying to do, I am trying to keep my ends because I don't want to accidentally let this slide down and then cut through the whole thing, okay? I know it's boring. I should be able to tell you some fantastic tale of my adventures lately, but I'll be honest, guys. I mean, life has just been pretty darn boring for the most part. So, okay, here we go. Cut all the way down. You can see, right? All right. With it folded in half, you have your handy dandy tweezers. Where did I? Oh, I covered mine up. Sorry. Take my tweezers. Any tweezers will do, but I just really love the fine point tweezers. It's like my crafting staple. Okay, so I'm going to pinch the end just like I do for regular rolled flowers, and I'm going to roll. But I want you to watch what happens. See how the loops start rolling around on themselves? And don't be worried if one side seems to roll faster or if your flowers start to, see how they start to kind of skew right there? Okay, and I'm going to show you why. You actually want them to do that. You roll, roll, roll. And when you get to the end, see my ends don't line up perfectly. I don't know how well you can see that. Oh, with my finger in the way, you probably can't see it at all. But my ends don't line up. I do have to hot glue in both places. All right, so I've got my flower. Remove my tweezers. Whoop. I'm going to hot glue one corner. Now I'm just getting the corner there. Tack it down. And then I will hot glue my other corner. Okay, so once these dry, and it dries pretty fast on felt. Felt kind of absorbs the glue a little bit. So let me see if I can turn this around. Once these dry, this is your flower. Let me see if I can get, there we go, there's that side. Okay, now the this is well, I won't say as big as you're going to get. If you were to cut multiple strips and keep wrapping, you would end up with a larger flower. But this is what you have to expect. And the only thing I want to caution you on, because I had this happen to me, don't push up on the middle too far, because see how on the back my end kind of sinks in? I don't want my flower to become unraveled. Okay, so what you can do if you want, if you have some scraps, you can actually hot glue a scrap piece of your felt in there, and it'll help stabilize your flower a little bit. But since for our projects we turned around and hot glued this onto something else, I don't necessarily have to do that with this flower. Okay. All right, so there's my pretty flower, right? And if I were to do that with thin strips, it's the same process, and this one will take just a little bit longer, so you'll have to bear with me. Great time for questions. I'm going to cut another strip. Okay, toss that. And I will do the same thing, but I'm just going to cut thinner pieces. You see how thin these are? Let me spread them apart. There we go. Those are much, much thinner than the other ones. I would say at least half as thin. And the thinner strips seem to make bigger flowers because they spread out farther. So you don't have to do, especially if you're working with scraps and you don't have exactly 12 inches, but you still want a larger flower, then that's when you could cut the smaller pieces. Now, I do also want to say this, the smaller strips mean that the flour is a little less stable too. So it depends on what you're going to use it for. If I'm using this for the, what are these called? Oh, the vent clips. Then I probably would go with the thicker strips, just because I know in my car they're going to be touched a lot. So the more that you have to pull and push, then your flour needs to be thicker and more stable. All right. So this is a shorter piece, right? But all these strips, and I will do the same exact thing that I just did and just roll. Okay, so I get all the way to the end, and you can see how, I won't say they're exactly the same, but they're pretty comparable. But this had, remember, we cut off part of our end. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing and go ahead and take my tweezers out, and I'm going to hot glue one, two. And I like to hold these while the glue dries. Yesterday I tried to cheat and I tried to put a rubber band around it, but when I took the rubber band apart, like I took the rubber band off, it didn't hurt the felt, but because it attached to this outside layer, then it separated from my middle layer, and I just had to put it back together. It's just a pain in the rear. So just hold it for just a few minutes, and then if you push some of the loops out, you get the same type of flour, but just a little bit more spread out. So to compare the two, oh, my hot glue came undone. Hang on. Okay. So to compare the two, here's what we're looking at. So not a whole lot of difference. This one I think is prettier than this one, but it's just a personal preference. So that part's up to you. Thin strips, thin strips. Thick strips, thin strips. I'm gonna get this right eventually. All right, so I'm gonna set these aside. They can dry. And I want to show you my other trick, hack, whatever you want to call it. So for the, what did I call them? Pom-pom flowers, okay? Same thing, I have a 9x12 piece of felt, and I'm going to tri-fold this. You know, like back in the day, like our kids don't know about now, when you had to tri-fold a letter to go in the envelope, same concept, and I want to get them as even as I can, all three pieces, okay? And then I'm going to fold it in half. Oop, stray felt. So what this means here is I have 6 layers of felt. You know, the 3 pieces that I folded over, and then because I folded it in half, that doubles. So I have this neat little square. This is actually a lid. If you've been a box subscriber for a while, we sent out last August, make your own candle kits, right? This is actually the lid off of one of those glass jars. So you can use any type of round, and you want to make sure, because see how my inside pieces don't come out as far. Can you see that? They don't come all the way to the edge. So I want to make sure that whatever round piece I'm lining up, I'm not going to cut off part of that, because what I'm going to do after I get it lined up, I'm going to sandwich it in my hand, just like that. And I'm going to take my scissors and just trim around the outside. And I want to keep it even because I do want these to be a circle shape. And this way, because obviously my bottom pieces, just by default, are going to have a little bit of a messier cut than my top piece. And my scissors aren't going to cut as well because I'm cutting 6 layers of felt. You get, I'll say you get a messier, gosh, I can't remember that flower name, pom-pom out of it. But when I compared the two on one where I individually cut circles versus cutting them all at once like this, there wasn't that big of a difference. So I just figured this is the easier way. This is I mean, what if I cut all those circles and then I don't even like how my pom-pom flower turns out? Then I've wasted all that time. So especially if this is your first pom-pom flower, it's just a really easy way. As a matter of fact, the very first time that I cut them multiple like this, I used a little acrylic blank. So anything that you have laying around, you can use. It's just for a guide to be able to cut a semicircle shape out of my felt. Okay, so that's how close I got. So that's not too bad. But now, because I cheated, whoop, I have 6 circles to work with. Okay. So I'm going to lay all these out individually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, 6 circles. And behind a pom-pom flower, I want to do a two-fold where I quarter the circle. Okay, so circle, I'm gonna fold it in half, right? Like a taco. We're gonna call these taco flowers going forward. But you have a taco, and then fold it in half again, and this is what you have. So that's my little quarter fold. And just like, no questions yet, we're good. I'm going to apply some hot glue right there on the inside and push it down. Now, if I had like some binder clips or some little clothespins, that would be really helpful. I don't, so I usually tuck them under my laptop or my machine or whatever works at that time. So I'm going to do that all the way through. Two down. So I will tell you that, so my daughter, if you saw her in the video the other night, she is 7 and she loved being in the video so much the other day that she has decided, because they're doing all the teleconferencing for their school right now, she has decided that she wants to put together a craft box to send out crafts to her friends from school. So I guess that'll be something we'll be doing next week. And I'm a little bit excited for her because, I love, of course, that she wants to, do what we're doing. But at the same time, it's kind of like, lady, I have my own box to worry about. So, but I can't fault her for wanting to, she don't even want to sell them. She just wants to give them away. And, I don't know, maybe her allowance is going to pay for it. We haven't quite talked money about that yet, but it was still really cute because all this week, other than watching me work, she has decided to start a snail and an ant farm in my store. So we now have little containers of ants and snails, which I told her, they love the outside. They belong outside. You should leave them outside. She wasn't buying it. She thought maybe they were lonely. She was exceedingly worried about them when it rained because she thought they would drown. So, what can you do? Now we have a snail farm and an ant farm. All right, this is my last one. And there's a couple different ways that you can put these together. So when I did, where's the first pom-pom I did? That was this one. Okay, so for this pom-pom, what I did was I took 4 of these and glued them together just like this. So that after they were glued, and I put the glue on the bottom pieces, then I could spread them out. And basically I took the other one and put on the sides. So that gives you a pretty well-rounded flower. Now, I've since then done another one. Let me show you what that looks like. You see this pink flower up here? Okay, and what I did for that one was I took and I did the same thing all the way around, but then I spread the flower out. Let me see where you can see that, like that, to where they were all on their sides. Okay, so this is also, depending on how big you cut your circles, is how big your flower will end up being. Because I did the small pom-pom that I did over right here, that's what I cut using this, and this is a 2-inch circle. So probably my felt circles ended up about 2.5 inches. That ended up being a pretty good size if I was going to do a car air freshener, or it worked out really good for doing this canvas right here. But for my wreath, I needed a larger flower, mostly larger flowers. So that's why I spread it out and made the larger flower. Okay. So for this one, I'll go ahead and show you. Now, it's also important, you can choose to, because if you look at the inside, once you spread this out, you're going to see more of your flower in here. So you notice you have one part where we glued it together, and you have another part where you have a loop. So you can decide whether you want all those to be facing the same way, or what I did with that pink one was I alternated them so that when you looked at it, you had one loop on top, one loop on bottom, one loop on top. So that part is completely up to you. All right. And then what I did, glued them at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and alternate again. But basically, I glued them all together end to end, and I waited for those to dry. And once those were dry, I brought it around, and that's when I glued the end pieces together to make a full circle. So I did just hear through the grapevine, I haven't looked to see if it's official, but we have been confirmed here, at least in Santa Rosa County, Florida, that school will be done through distance learning through the end of the year. So yay. I've always freely admitted that I am not a very domestic person. I was not meant to stay at home with children. So we'll see. That is going to be a fun adventure for everybody. I have a feeling that my kids hate it just as much as I do. I'm actually a nocturnal person, so I have 2 teenage boys, so they sleep all day and play video games all night. So now we're actually kind of on the same schedule, so that works out pretty good. But okay, so once these are dry, then I'm going to take these 2 sides and just pull them around, and that's how the flower will be. Okay, so the only part with that is you do have to decide. I would put this on some sort of base. And remember, for the base, we use the green felt because it was stiffer. And you can still do the same thing with this when you're talking about doing crafts that have multiple leaves. You can see where I folded this in half and I cut leaves freehand to get my projects done. If that doesn't work for you, or you don't like cutting freehand, I do have some templates uploaded to the Google Drive to where you can iron them on. Same thing, we'll add, or in the tutorial, it'll give you exact circles so that you can cut them with your freezer paper and iron them onto your felt to decide if that's, if you want to cut those out individually. So you do not have to do it this way. And these are just 2 of the flower types, or I guess really 3, depending on how you put them together, that you can use to create the projects this month. So we did the rolled flowers, we did the pom-pom flowers, and we did the loop mums. And we created 3 different projects. We did the car vent clips, and we did the canvas. Now this is adhered on here with heat transfer vinyl. This is actually just a small 4x6 piece. And if I had some paints that I wanted to, I was actually thinking about painting in the circle or painting a light blue water line or something like that. So don't feel like you're restricted if you're feeling like your canvas is a little bare. And then we did the wreath that you saw me get down. The same thing, I did all these flowers up here, okay, accented them. You can see on the back, see all those green leaves? I use those for my base and also to add accents sticking out on the sides of my flowers. Now this is interesting. This is just a piece of 6-inch burlap ribbon, and then I use heat transfer vinyl. And you can see that the ribbon is actually sandwiched in between my embroidery hoop. So those are other great projects you have to look forward to, but those have all the basic theme of cut your flowers, glue your flowers together, add your leaves if you want to, apply your HTV. The common theme between all of these is the staple of making your felt flowers. So now you have 3 really awesome flowers that you can make with or without your silhouette, depending on your comfort level. So pretty darn exciting. And then probably my favorite project of the whole box, of course, is our gnome. So this is a guy gnome, it's a boy, but I did add a little flower there on the side. Okay, so hopefully I will be back later on tonight, and I'm going to show you how to make a female gnome. And then if you happen to have enough felt left over, you could even make a matching pair. So I did try to calculate and include enough felt for all 3 of these projects, but if you've been ultra conservative, or you say, you know, the heck with it, I don't need a wreath, well, then you can just make a matching pair of gnomes. So probably my favorite ever, and he's going to look perfect in my house. And the great thing about this is if you add up the price of felt, then really you're only talking about probably $3 worth of materials here. So I could literally make these for every holiday, every season, every room of my house. I mean, not that I need gnomes in every room, but I mean, do you ever not need gnomes in your life? That's all I'm saying. So you can also make them in different sizes. This is the largest that you will get out of a standard sheet of foam or a sheet of felt, unless you start talking about gluing multiple pieces together. But this is a pretty good size. I mean, what are we talking about here? Probably 9 or 10 inches. So pretty good size just to accent your decorations at home. So for now, he's going to hang out up there. And I still don't see any questions. So either I'm killing it on these videos and you don't have any questions, or you have no idea what I'm talking about and don't know what questions to ask. Either way, I'm here for you. All right. So I'm going to wrap it up. Don't forget, if you haven't already started your box, I did go ahead and get the files and everything. As soon as I sign off here, I'm going to switch my brain back over to tutorials. Of course, I always have the basis of them, but I have to go in and link the files and do that sort of thing. And I've only been kid-free for about an hour. So buckle down, finish the tutorials. I know you guys are dying to make these projects, and I am really excited to see what you do with them. So be sure to share in the group. If you haven't joined the group or you want to see what the boxes are about, we do have a Facebook group, and that's all I have for you. All right. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you again later on. Bye.